What's up, guys? Welcome back to Unlocked. I wanted to speak about relationships in business. Why? Is because I just heard from somebody that one of the best I'm not surprised at all, one of the best or most viewed episodes we have is when I was sitting here with my wife for an hour. Makes sense. Anything my wife's usually involved tends to get more attention. And so that's why I'm here as well. But I wanted to talk about relationships in business and how to go about them. There's, I would say, mainly three, but potentially four kinds of relationships. So we'll kind of go one at a time, okay? The first kind of relationship, and I would say the most important one, is your upline relationship. What does upline mean? If you're in sales, it's just an easy way to kind of think about the person directly above you or multiple people above you. So when you think about your upline, or your mentor, it could be your boss, or the guide or coach that is helping you, the relationship you should have and how you should approach this relationship. So first, to differentiate, somebody that is in your upline not necessarily could be your coaching upline. So if you are, for example, hired by somebody that might have been just around for a couple of weeks, you might have the person that is above that person be your main guide and coach, even though they are both your upline, and one of them is more behaving as a maybe friend, and the other one is more behaving as a coach. What kind of relationship you should have with your upline? In my opinion, your upline is the only relationship that you really should look for when you come into a new space, a new room. Every day when I walk in the morning at work, and I unfortunately don't work every day now with my upline anymore because my role has changed, but when I did, the first person I look for when I get into a room is my upline. And I have that tattooed in my heart because I think that is the most important person for me. It's the person that cares for me the most, is the person that is financially incentivized to see me grow. And of course, through time, the bonds and the relationships that get built. Things that you want to avoid. You never want to embarrass your upline or you never want to put them in a position to be judged or to be embarrassed, either in private or even especially in front of other people, even if you do have a reason to. So if you think about maybe you're being a little bit sarcastic, maybe you're being a little funny, you never want to mess with your upline's ego in any way. Why? Because again, you downline, you will have thousands, depends on who you are, but you will have lots. Crossline, you will have thousands, but upline, usually you will have very, very few. More than likely, you'll have one. And so you should cherish your relationship with your upline. You should always look at it like it is to be protected. And, again, I don't want to dive into personal relationships, but outside of my relationship with God, for myself, and outside of my relationship with my wife, those are my two most important relationships personally. And again, this doesn't have to be you. This is just Richard's story. Outside of those two relationships, really, my upline is my most important relationship. And even when I look at my marriage, like my wife is extremely interested in me having a very close and tight relationship with my upline. Normally, anything that happens that is not to be expected, any challenges that happen, obstacles, or maybe some bad seasons are usually connected to me not being tight and pursuing my upline. So it's very easy. I don't want to expect my upline to pursue me. I don't want him or her to look for me or have to look for me or have to find me. I want to be consistently pursuing and almost like submitting. And again, careful with that word. Don't hear what I didn't say. Submitting, meaning I am surrendering my pride and my ego to this relationship, and I have complete trust, even if I disagree with some of the things, and doing what my upline says, because I understand his point of view / experience / financial incentive / and most importantly, his heart and what his goal is, especially to get out of our relationship. So I want to have a complete free of pride and ego and completely submissive. And again, the word isn't obedient, but I want to make sure my upline knows that I will do whatever he says, and I will trust whatever business decision, no matter what, even if I have a little bit of doubt, or if I have a little bit of insecurity or uncertainty around it, because me showing my upline that I trust them is more important to me than the outcome of the situation. Hopefully that makes sense. And that might sound a little radical to you. It's just what's worked for me. Most of the breakthroughs in my career, going from $0 to $100,000 in income or in revenue or even in savings, from going from $100,000 to $1 million, it was a lot of uncertainty on my end, but somebody above me, my upline, that had complete faith in security and safety, that it was going to happen. So, and maybe the last thing I'll say about your upline relationship is I don't ever want my upline to feel that they have to walk on eggshells to give me some feedback. So if they see something dangerous in my business, or if they see something dangerous in my team, or they're walking, they might talk to somebody that go up to him instead of going through me, because maybe I'm being a little scary, or maybe I'm being not the most approachable. I want my upline to feel completely free, completely not have to delay, come in and talk to me, say, hey, Richard, this is bad. I don't want him to sense, and again, it goes back to pride, and I don't want him to sense any sort of like obstacle coming from me. So that's your first and most important relationship in business, in my opinion, is the relationship with your upline. Still to this day, every time my upline's around, that is the first person I look for inside the room, and that is the person I seek. I want to impress. That is the person I want to perform for. And again, as that might sound a little weird to you, in business, again, if you look at the business result and outcome of this, it's worked very, very well for me. The second relationship is downline. So it's anybody that you hire, anybody that's technically underneath you, that's in your department. This could be somebody that used to be crossline, now downline. And again, I just think about a line, or like a corporate structure, people that are underneath you. So if you're a department manager, every person underneath that department is on your downline. If you are a sales manager, everybody underneath you. If you're assigned a specific team, a specific program, all those people are your downline. So what should be my relationship with my downline? It should always be loving and caring. And again, I need to spend time, and this is funny. You can't accelerate time. So I can't just make up a relationship. I can't just make a year go by in 30 days. I can't do that. So a lot of it is going to be based on time, but my relationship with my downline should always be loving and caring, because if you're here to help their business, the best way to help somebody's business, and again, this is my opinion, just take it for what it's worth, but my best experience helping downline has been through just helping with their personal life. Most people know what they got to do in their job, and the reason they don't do it is because something mentally it's blocking them from performing at the highest level. And that mental blockage usually doesn't come because they don't know the pitch. It usually does not come because they don't know what to do, or it usually doesn't come because they don't have enough work ethic. Matter of fact, I work door to door, and I work with lots of people that are here 12, 13, 15 hours a day, and they're volunteering for that, and then they have horrible results. So would you call that person lazy? I wouldn't. I mean, even though I kind of want to sometimes, I wouldn't classify that person as lazy. Again, there's something personal. There is something in their personal life that is blocking them, that is blocking your team from performing at the highest level. Did you ever notice that when you hire somebody that's downline to you, that they just have an organized personal life? Maybe they have a relationship that is not suffering. They're in a great spot with boyfriend, girlfriend, wife or husband, great spot with their parents. They have some savings because they've been responsible with their money enough to save. They're not really stressed through a new career, and they usually have a car, they have insurance, they pay their own rent, their own bills. There's not a lot of personal flags, red flags, yellow flags. Did you ever notice that person's kind of start their job, and since there is nothing to worry about, they can put their full mental energy, and then really all you have to work with them is the skill. So why do I say that? Is because I believe that, again, I am not a counselor. I am not a therapist, but I'm sure I've acted as such a few times, just because I believe that the relationship you should have with your downline is you should look for, how can I help them improve their life in the order that they need it? Most people care about their personal life more than their professional life. So most people, what I mean by that is, and you could disagree with that, but I want you to think about this order. Most people are willing to not grow at their job until their personal life is good. Most people are willing to sacrifice a promotion or a career for a girl. Very ambitious, very good people distract themselves from their career because they just fell in love, or because something in their personal life. So most people are willing to let their job suffer a little bit if their personal life is not in order. And that's just, again, it's really just a fact. So the way I would look at it is, I'm hiring my downline, and I want to have a loving and caring relationship, because if I don't love them, if I don't put love on them, if I don't pour into them, if I don't care for them, I'm never going to show enough interest to actually find out what is the thing in their personal life that I can help them overcome. And a lot of the things I never help them overcome, but I do connect them and I network them with somebody that has overcome that issue, right? Somebody not too long ago was talking about how hard it was for them to be in the military and have a good relationship with their family coming back from the military. I've personally never been in the military, as much as I respected it, as much as I would have loved to. So I connected that person with somebody that has been in the military, has overcome that, and is successful in our industry. Now they're best friends, and also takes the weight load away from me, which is interesting how you can now duplicate and grow a lot quicker when other people are helping you. So downline relationship, back to the point, loving and caring. If you do not have the heart, and again, it's very hard if your life it's not in an okay spot. It's kind of hard to care for other people, and that's why I think a lot of teams kind of stop their growth at a certain lid. If you ever read the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell, the Law of the Lid, I think it's chapter 3, great chapter. So I need to help people remove obstacles and blockages from their life, usually in their personal life, usually in their relationship, so that when they come to work, they're happy. And when I have a happy person at work, nobody wakes up and decides to suck. So that's the relationship I should have with my downline. It should always be out of respect, and it should always be I should be a light in their tunnel, not necessarily. I shouldn't be. I should be a pressure valve. I shouldn't be adding pressure. So when they're having a bad day, when they had a tough day, a bad life. And a lot of the times when people had tough days, it's because they made bad decisions. Your flesh as their leader, as their upline, as their coach, is to kind of punish them a little bit on it and told them, I told you so, you should have not made that decision. But I think your role as an upline is to be the pressure valve and to relieve pressure and recognize the pressure they've put on themselves, not add more pressure, especially at that tough moment. So, hey, if this has been helping, again, thanks for listening. This is another episode of Unlocked. If you think you can send this to somebody in another office, maybe you've been talking to, or maybe somebody you hate so that they do worse, or if you can share this with somebody, this is how our podcast has been growing. If you can click the little bell and subscribe, that really helps us. And you can, keep sending this on maybe your office group chat. And if it helps, it helps. Really appreciate you for that. I know a lot of you guys are helping with that, so thank you so much. The last, and again, I don't think it's last, but maybe third relationship work-wise that I wanted to speak on is your crossline. What to say? So with your crossline, similar to with your downline, you don't ever want to share negatives. And I didn't mention that with downline. I think it's obvious. You don't want to go to the people you hire and the people you're coaching and mentoring and telling them all of the, and vomiting and all of the stuff that's wrong in your life. That's what you have an upline for. A person that you can share maybe your not so good things, because nobody's perfect. But when you look at your crossline, the first thing I want you to look at is like, it's a person that you didn't hire. They might be at a similar level than you. They might be at a higher or lower level than you. Crossline doesn't have anything to do with their rank in business, in the business. Crossline has to do with they are not a part of your team and they're not a part of your upline, which means they are in somebody else's team. So when you think of crossline, I want you to think about everybody. I want you to think about somebody that is downline to someone else. I want you to think about your neighbor, and I was talking to Philly here about Jesus not that long ago, and I think there's a good business reference where, God wants us to look at people as his children. It's not just your neighbor and some random human. It's God's child. And when I look at another human like it's God's child, my respect for them goes up because it's like God's child versus some random person. So that should help. When I look at my crossline, I want to look at them like they're somebody else's team. There's somebody else's downline that they could be in a position that, they don't. And sometimes it's very easy with my crossline because they're in a similar rank sometimes to just kind of have that friendship and not respect. I think the hardest thing about crossline, there's the biggest negative and biggest positive I'll share. I think the biggest negative is that it's very easy to share your own personal life with them. And so therefore, we kind of tend to vent and we kind of tend to make friendships before business because we don't care because it's not our team. And You would say, Richard, but I do care about my crossline, but you don't care enough to do the hardest thing. And I would say the hardest thing is to keep your mouth shut with negative stuff, because you know that their upline wouldn't share it with them, or if it was your team, if it was person underneath you, you wouldn't just share it. A lot of times when we are sharing our own negatives, or a bad experience I had in a tough sale, or a tough rejection, or a tough neighborhood, a lot of that is stuff that I just say to benefit me because it feels funny, it feels sarcastic, it feels great to say it, but it wasn't really helping anyone other than me, if that makes sense. So I think when I share it with a crossline, all I'm doing is I'm planting a seed. All I'm doing is I'm planting a seed. I am planting a seed of doubt. If they've never had the problem I'm sharing with them, now they're going to think it could happen to them soon. If I am sharing with them a problem they've had in the past, now I am reaffirming the fear and anxiety or whatever they might have around. Even worse than that, I could influence my upline's business. Like, this person could be not on my team, but it could be on my upline's team. It could be another part of my mentor's team. So I could be hurting my own upline by planting seeds of doubt, fear, or again, just being negative around somebody else just because they're not my team. So I want you to be really careful. And again, the difference between friends and crossline is huge. They could be friends and crossline, but and this is what I love about just sales in general in business, is that I have friendships with conditions. And you're like, Richard, I don't want to have friendships with conditions. Listen here real quick. Like, these are good conditions. These are friends that we both have like an unspoken agreement that we're not going to be negative to each other because it doesn't help our careers. And we care for our careers more than we care about sharing stuff, than we care about sharing how funny it was something negative yesterday. And as much as I am not perfect at this, and I would love to share sometimes, even with my downline, things that were funny or negative, it is not productive to their career, and it is a selfish move. Whether it's a friend from high school, we're just negative all day. And I think the difference is, and I found this maturing through the years in business, that people that are crossline are not just friends. They can be friends, but more importantly, they are your crossline, which means they are somebody else's business. They are somebody else's life investment. And I really urge you to look into this, man. If you have a chance to speak somewhere, because you're probably doing very well. I mean, you're listening to stuff instead of listening to music all day. You're probably speaking in front of a room full of people, you might be speaking at a meeting, at a ballroom with hundreds of people. The majority of that group, if you speak in a ballroom, the majority of that group usually will be crossline to you. Somebody gave you the trust, somebody handing you a microphone, and they're trusting you with their team. The way I look at it, I pour my whole life into my career, into my team, into my business. My whole life, my wife's life, my children, everybody, all our family's life is into our team. If I let you speak to my team, I don't want you to take it for granted. I don't think any upline wants you to take it for granted. And that's how I want you to look at your crossline. It's like, I'm handing you a microphone to speak over you now have the voice to say whatever you want. It could be as good as bad as you want. It could be very damaging if it's bad. Now you have the power to speak, and you have the ear of my entire team, which is my whole life's investment. Like when I spoke for the first time in front of a big group of people, the majority of those people were my upline's team. It was my mentor's life investment that now he is trusting me for a few minutes to speak to, where he has no power of what I could say, just trust. And so a big way to look at crossline, and I would say the only way, is it's a friendship with conditions. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a person that it's somebody else's team. Again, my neighbor that might have, done something wrong to me, or the person that, slashed your tire. At the end of the day, it is God's child. And if you think about your Heavenly Father, and then you think about somebody else's kid, you think about their kid, you do treat them differently. And I want you to think about it like that, even if you don't have a religious or a spiritual perspective, but I'm sure you can understand that you don't want to hurt somebody else's kid. It's a different way of seeing things, right? Last thing I'll say is, crossline. It is probably, and again, I'm speaking about sales, specifically to door-to-door, but I think in any direct sales environment, crossline is the best kept secret of, top performers, because there's a lot of, general rules that I think everyone should follow around your crossline. You don't want to talk about business. You don't want to teach your crossline. You don't want to share tactical stuff. You don't want to go into specifics or details unless there's upline approval, again, because there could be confusion. It could create confusion. But done with maturity and networking and finding positive, okay things to share with business-wise with your crossline could be your best kept secret. And some of my crossline, some of the people that are at even not as, maybe they're at a lower level in their career than I am, have helped my team the most because we've had a very tight relationship. And crossline, again, could be the best kept secret of high performers. Using crossline maturely, and of course, always with upline approval, upline counsel, but again, knowing what kind of seeds I've been putting on. If every time I have a chance to help somebody that's not on my team, I used to look at this. I used to be lazy, and every time I had to help somebody that was crossline to me or not on my team, I used to not want to do it. And until I understood this, that me sharing positive, me being helpful to my crossline, again, I'm just planting a seed. And again, crossline is probably the biggest group you'll ever have. It's probably going to be, if I plant seeds of helping crossline, eventually a lot of crossline will help me, and that'll be a big team. And I remember looking at it like, well, they're not on my team. And again, that's just leadership maturity, right? I want to help as much crossline as possible, because eventually, I'm not going to claim help back, but chances are when you help a lot of people will help you. Guaranteed? No, but proven over the years. So again, upline, downline, just to kind of close it out, recap for you. My upline relationship, number one relationship, most important business relationship. It's the person that, guides and coaches you, and you should always cherish, seek and pursue this relationship with your heart, because you'll never be able to replace it. Downline, you'll have many, but number one rule for having down, I would say it's loving and caring and teaching and helping them how to, again, have a better personal life so that they can come to whatever their career goal is and perform at the highest level. It's a lot easier than working with somebody with a broken life and having them grow in their career. And then crossline, it could be your best kept secret, but looking at a condition, like looking at a friendship with conditions and looking at it in a positive way, because if you twist my words, it could sound like, well, Richard only wants to be friends with certain conditions. And even though the answer to that would be yes, the conditions are usually beneficial for both parties. I don't want our relationship to be based on gossip, to be based on shame, to be based on guilt. I want it to be based only on positive stuff, because eventually these relationships are going to, trickle into my home, where my family, where my most, my children and all the stuff that I care for the most. And of course, I'm sure it's the same for you. So hopefully it helps. And again, I think if you can reframe the way you look at your relationships, or if you know somebody that just might need help with like the way they're treating their team, the way they're treating their person, maybe they have a lack of appreciation for the person that brought them in. Maybe you passed your upline and you're losing respect a little bit, and you kind of need to bring that back and appreciate that a little more. If you know anybody like that, please help share with them. And outside of that, I'll see you at the next one.